In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why if your prayer life sucks and it feels dry and it feels hard and you feel alone and isolated and depressed in prayer, if all of that's happening, it's actually a good thing. So the idea is this: God communicates to us in a way that we can understand. And whenever you start in the spiritual life, God gives you those things that you can understand. He gives you joy. It's something called consolation in prayer, and prayer feels good. And anybody who's turned their heart to Christ, that first month, 2 months, maybe more of prayer, after you've given yourself to Christ totally, it's sweet and it's enjoyable and it's joy-filled. Maybe you're praying 4 rosaries a day because it feels good and you're so happy and you realize the peace that Christ can offer you. But then Jesus does something very interesting. He says, okay, you're doing this because you like it, but will you keep doing it because I like it? And this is when your prayer life will start to suck. This is it. Ready? After you've gotten those consolations from Jesus and you've gotten these sort of spiritual cookies to keep you motivated because you're just a child in the faith, Jesus says, will you do this for me and not for yourself? Because whenever you're praying at first and it feels good, yeah, maybe you're doing it because you love God, but you're probably also doing it because you love the way it feels. So there's a little bit of selfishness in your prayer baked into the cake. So what God does is he takes that away and says, what are you going to do now? And if you're in that position, and I've been there, trust me, if you're in that spot, it stinks. It sucks. You don't know where God is. You don't know what you're supposed to be doing. You feel lost and you feel like you're just stumbling in the dark. I've been there. I get it. But what you do is you recognize that God is using the darkness to purify your faith. God is leading you and teaching you to love him for his own sake and not because of the gifts he gives you. If you only love God because he does good things for you, your love is selfish. It's not Christ-like at all. You have to learn to take up your cross and go after Jesus, even if it hurts and even if it costs you everything. St. John of the Cross in The Dark Night of the Soul talks about how whenever somebody's going through the dark night and they feel this dryness and this soreness towards God and this hurt in their heart when they think of God, the reason for that is because God wants to make them very holy and he wants to strip them of any selfish attachments. That's why God does it. If you are there and your prayer feels dry and it feels bad and it feels miserable, remember that God is using that to purify you. And that dryness that you feel in prayer is actually God sanctifying you and purifying you because he wants you to be incredibly holy. The prayer that you pray when you don't want to pray is more meritorious than the prayer that's accompanied with consolation. And the reason for that is if you're praying, even though you don't feel like it, then you're praying simply because you love God. If you're praying because, yeah, you love God, but it also feels nice, there's selfishness mixed into that prayer. So if you are going through this, remember that God is with you and he's using this to purify you and to strengthen you. If you enjoyed this video and you want to join me and a group of men in praying the rosary daily to overcome our vices and become the husbands, the fathers, the saints that God designed us to be, then check out the link in the description.